Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom and welcome to today's Daf Yomi NIDAH Daf Samachay. We will begin on Samach Dalad Amud Beis, around 3 lines from the bottom. Amarav. Perhaps we should take a quick look at the Mishnah first on top of the Amud, which will lead us into today's Daf. Says the Mishnah, Tinoikis, Shaloi higia zmana lirois v'niseis. Now a woman, when she gets married, she experiences dam basulim as a result of the first tashmish, blood that she sees, as a result of the first bia, which disrupts the basulim membrane, the hymen membrane, and the dam, which she sees as a result, is called dam basulim, which of course is not dam nida and does not render her tamei, but rather it's dam toher, like dam which would come from any other wound, any other makkah. Now the question is, until what point, for how many days after the first bia, can we attribute the dam that she sees to the basulim? So the answer is that it depends on the isha's age. If she's merely a ktana and not accustomed to seeing any dam nidais, then surely it's more likely that her dam is from the basulim. If she's already older, she's already a nara who is accustomed to seeing dam nidais, then there's more of a concern there. Says the Mishnah, Tinoikes shalehigia zmana lirois v'nisis. If a tinoikes, a young girl, a ktana, who's not yet come of age to see dam nidais, there are 3 stages of development by an isha. Up until 12 years old, she's called a ktana, and it is not the age which she usually sees dam nidais. At 12, she turns into a nara, provided she has 2 pubic hair, 2 saris, and at that point, she's already of age to see dam nidais, and that goes till 12 and a half for 6 months, when she turns into a begeres, which she's fully mature, and surely she's accustomed to seeing dam nidais at that point. Says the Mishnah, the halacha of dam basulim will be applied to all these stages differently. Tinoikis, if she's a ktana shelo yigia zmana lirois, she has not yet reached the age of seeing dam nidais, she's up to 12 years old, v'nisis, and she marries. So we give her an allowance. How much after the first bia do we attribute the dam to the psulim? Says Beis Shammai, she has 4 nights of tashmish, and that is the allowance. Up until then, do we attribute the blood that she sees to the psulim, and she's tahor. There's no such limitation. Until the wound fully heals. At that point we know that the dam of the psulim is fully depleted, but up until then, doesn't matter how many days or how many nights, she is tahor, and the dam that she experiences is attributed to the basulim. Continues the Mishnah. Higia zmana lirois v'nisis. What if she has already become a nara, which is a time where it's usual for her to start seeing dam nidais? So in this case, it's more of a concern, and her allowance shrinks. We only grant her the first night. After that, we suspect that perhaps the dam is dam nidais. She has up until Matzah Shabbos. In those days, it was customary. It was a minhag for a basula to marry on Wednesday. So she has up until Matzah Shabbos for a total of 4 nights. Now this is speaking about a nara who, although she has come of age, she's potentially a isha who can see dam nidais, but nevertheless she had never actually experienced dam nidais before. However, if this nara has already experienced dam nida previously, in that case her allowance shrinks even further. Continues the Mishnah. What if she had already seen dam nida when she was back home before she married? In this case, her allowance is diminished even more. We only give her the be'ilas mitzvah, the first bia. Past that, she's considered to be a safek nida. We assume that any dam that comes afterwards, we will concern perhaps it's dam nida. We give her the whole night, the first night. For that whole night, we assume that it is dam besulim. So we have 3 halachas in the Mishnah. We have about a ktana, we have about a nara that had never seen dam before, and we have about a nara who had previous experiences with dam nida. Now, why is the first bia called bilas mitzvah? So there's a taisus in Ksuvas that explains that it is because of this bia that a bond is created between the isha and the isha, which facilitates the kiyum ha-mitzvah, the fulfillment of the mitzvah of puravu, That's why it's called Be'ilas Mitzvah. Okay, so let's drop down to Amar Rav, 3 lines from the bottom. Rav will add another category. Amar Rav, what about a Beigeres? We discussed a Ktana, we discussed a Nara. What about a Beigeres who's already 12 and a half years old? In that case, we are even more concerned that the dam she is seeing now is dam NIDAH, and therefore we give her a very small allowance. Amar Rav, Beigeres noisnin laila harishon. She only gets the first night. V'hane mila sheloi rasa, provided that she had never seen dam before. Aval rasa, if she had already seen dam previously, she's a Beigeres, and she had already had prior experience seeing dam NIDAH. Eina ela be'ilas mitzvah. In that case, she's only granted the first be'ilah, and that's it. So in conclusion, we have 4 halachas. A Ktana, according to Beis Shammai, is granted 4 nights. According to Beis Hillel, ad shetichya hamaka, until the wound completely heals. The next stage is a Nara that had never seen before, shaloi ra'asa. According to Beis Shammai, she receives the first night. According to Beis Hillel, she gets 4 nights. We have a Nara that had already seen earlier, she was Ra'asa. In that case, according to Beis Shammai, she only gets the Be'ilas Mitzvah. According to Beis Hillel, she gets the full night. And finally, we have about a Beigeres. The Rav tells us that a Beigeres, if she had never seen previously, then she gets the first night. If she had prior experience with dam NIDAH, then all she gets is the first Be'ilah. Ask the Gemara, how can you say that a Beigeres shaloi ra'asa will only receive 1 night? Says the Gemara, Meisvei. We seem to have a Braisa which contradicts this halacha, this ruling of Rav. We see from this Braisa that a Beigeres is granted more than just 1 night. Ma'asa v'nosam la Rebbe arba leilos mitoich yud beis chodesh. There was a story. The Rebbe granted and awarded an Isha 4 nights of Tashmish, spread out throughout 12 months. Rashi explains that there was a Bia on 1 night, then he left town for 3 months, then there was another Laila, and another 3 months, another Laila, and so on. There was a 3-month period between each Laila. So in total, there were 4 nights of Heter, 4 nights of Tahara, dispersed throughout a 12-month period. So that was her allowance. Says the Gemara, Hechidami, what are we speaking about? What age was this Isha? Was she a Ktana? Was she a Nara? Was she a Beigeres? What are we speaking about? Hechidami, Ilema de Yohiv la kula b'mei katnus. She married as a Ktana, and Rebbe awarded her 4 nights, Arba Leilis, which is the allowance awarded to a Ktana. Says the Gemara, Ad shetichya makatnan. We know that according to Beis Hillel, a Ktana who marries receives a much greater allowance up until the wound heals. So why would Rebbe limit her only to 4 nights? So it can't be that Rebbe was discussing a Ktana. Ella, it must be the Yoav lekulu b'mei naris, that Rebbe awarded a Nara. She married when she was already a Nara, and therefore she received her allowance of 4 nights, and this is in accordance to Shitas Beis Hillel, that a Nara shaloi ra'asa receives an allowance of 4 nights. Says the Gemara, that can't either be. Narus yud beis chodesh me'ika, we just said that the 4 nights was spread throughout 12 months. Now we know that our Nara, the whole entire period of Narus, is merely 6 months, from 12 to 12 and a half. That is not enough time to fit in 4 Lailos of 12 months. Says the Gemara, Narus yud beis chodesh me'ika. Does then the stage of Narus stretched out throughout 12 months? V'amar Shmuel, didn't Shmuel teach us, Ein bein Narus lebagrus el abav chadashim levad. Between Narus and Bagrus, there is only a time frame of 6 months. So that won't work either. Says the Gemara, B'chi teima, perhaps you can propose, Batzer mihachi hu deleka. Shmuel was telling you the minimum between Narus and Bagrus is indeed 6 months. Hot feika, perhaps there can be more than 6 months between Narus and Bagrus. Ha-bilvad kamar, Shmuel specifically states bilvad, which means only. There are only 6 months between when she becomes a Nara until she reaches the next stage of Beigeres. So that can't be the interpretation of Rebbe's ruling. Ella, must be the Yoav la shtayim b'mei katnus, shtayim b'mei Narus. What happened was she married a Ktana. She got married when she was still under 12, and then 2 of those nights passed, meaning 1 night 3 months, another night, and then she became a Nara. She became 12 years old. So Rebbe said that she receives a total of 4 nights, 2 that took place when she was a Ktana, and to complete the 4, she gets another 2 presently when she is a Nara. Says the Gemara, that can't either be. Why? Habai minei Rav Chinana bar Shlami mirav. Rav Chinana asked a question of Rav. What happens in the following case? Let's say she was a Ktana when she married, and then she developed into a Nara. What happens now? What happens with her allowance? We know that a Ktana has one type of allowance, a Nara has a different type of allowance. When she was a Ktana, the allowance was Acha Techia Maka. When she turned a Nara, now her allowance changes. Her halacha changes to a limitation of Arba Leilis. So how do we work this out? All the be'ilas, all the tashmish that they did when she was still a Ktana, they are reckoned merely as one. Meaning that now that she's a Nara, she has an allowance of 4 leilis. But we need to deduct one of them, since she already had prior experience when she was a Ktana. She had many biyos when she was a Ktana. So we have to deduct somewhat of her present allowance, and we deduct of the 4 nights, we deduct 1 night. All the biyos that took place when she was a Ktana reckon as 1. V'hashar mashlimin l'dalad leilis. And then we add another 3 to complete her 4-night allowance. So the Gemara is asking, how can you propose that Rebbe's ruling was discussing a Ktana who got married when she was a Ktana, and then she became a Nara? And Rebbe was teaching us that 2 of the 4 nights she receives when she's a Ktana, and the other 2 are completed when she's a Nara. That can't be so, because all the biyos, all of her tashmish experiences that took place when she was a Ktana really should only count as 1. They're only reckoned as if they're all 1. And she should be eligible for another 3 when she's a Nara. So how can you say there are only 2 remaining? So that either can't be the pshat, the explanation of Rebbe's halacha. Ella, so let's come up with another suggestion. The yoev la'achas meikatnas. Rebbe was speaking about giving her 1, meaning out of the total of 4, he gave her 1 when she was a Ktana. She married when she was a Ktana. She received 1 night then. Then she became a Nara. Ushtayim bin Naras, and then she got another 2 when she was already a Nara. Va'achas b'mei bagrus. Then she went even further. She became begeres, and there was 1 more remaining night, and she did that. She was allowed that night when she was a begeres. So this works out according to Shmuel's calculation. Shmuel says that between the stage of when she becomes a Nara, she has 6 months until she becomes a begeres. So this would work out very fine, because the first night she received when she was a Ktana, she became a Nara, and we said that a Nara has 6 months, so that can include 2 of these nights, because between the nights there are 3 months, so 6 months can be a combination of 2 of those nights, can consist of 2 of those nights, and then once the 6 months are up, she turned into a begeres. She has 1 more remaining night of the 4, which she was awarded when she was a begeres. So it works out. However, we have a problem with that, because this would be a kasha on Rav's previous ruling. Rav taught us that a begeres only receives an allowance of 1 night. Now, we mentioned earlier that when a Ktana turns into a Nara, all the be'ilas, all the tashmish that took place when she was a Ktana, need to be reckoned, need to bring somewhat of a reduction in the allowance of the Nara. We said surely we don't count each tashmish, all of them together are reckoned merely as 1, but nevertheless they do affect the allowance of the Nara. We deduct 1 of the Nara's allowed nights. Here too, says the Gemara, we suggested that Rebbe was speaking about a case when she married when she was a Ktana. She had 1 of her leilos when she was a Ktana. Then she became a Nara and she had 2 of those leilos, and she has 1 more left, and that was given to her when she was a begeres. But let's remember, she's already had previous experience. She's already had biyos and leilos before she became a begeres. You can't ignore that. You can't say, well, she's a begeres, grant her the allowance given to ordinary begeres. She's not an ordinary begeres. She already had previous experiences. She already had previous tashmish. She was already awarded many, many nights beforehand. 1 when she was a ktana, 2 when she was a nara. So it has to affect somewhat the allowance of the begeres. Says the Gemara inside. It's all good and well. Begeres ba'alma yavina latfei. An ordinary begeres, she receives more than 1 night. She receives perhaps 2 nights. In that case, it would make sense to say that over here, when she received 1 night when she was a ktana, 2 nights when she was a nara, she'll still have 1 night when she's a begeres. Why? Because we are deducting one of her 2 eligible nights. An ordinary begeres has an allowance of 2 nights. In this case, since she had a previous allowance, so we'll deduct one of those 2 nights and she'll be left with 1 night. So that would work. But Rav who ruled that a begeres, ordinary begeres, only has 1 night allowance, so where's the deduction? How can you say that in this case she still maintains her 1 night allowance when she turns a begeres? How come it's not being affected by the fact that she had already an allowance during the main naras? Again, if you say, it's all good and well if you say begeres ba'alma, an ordinary begeres, has more than 1 night. Yavin latfei, an ordinary begeres is granted 2 nights. So therefore, just like the ahani katnus b'mei naras, just like we said before, that the katnus, the experiences during the katnus stage, affects the main naras. It causes a deduction. It reduces her allowance during the main naras. We can't just ignore the fact that she already had part of her allowance during the main katnus. Therefore, we deduct somewhat of the main naras. L'mrivtza l'chada, to deduct one of her days, one of her allowed nights that would otherwise be given to her. So therefore, in our case, ahani nami naras lebagrus, the allowance that she already had, that she already received when she was a nara, will make a deduction in the allowance given to a bagrus. L'mrivtza l'chada, to deduct at least 1. Ordinarily, she would get 2, and here we're giving her 1. So that would work out. But if you maintain that begeres da'alma, ordinary begeres, lo yavin latfei, she doesn't get more, she only gets 1 night to begin with. So in this case, being that she already had prior experience, she already had an allowance given to her during Yimei Katnos, Yimei Naras, so we can't just ignore that. We can't be oblivious to that. We have to deduct somewhat of her begeres allowance and only give her less than an ordinary begeres. If so, she should only be left with bilas mitzvah. We should deduct the ordinary allowance of 1 night and knock it down 1 notch and only give her bilas mitzvah. So this is a kasha on Rav's shita. Rav taught us that a begeres gets an allowance of 1 night. This brisa seems to indicate otherwise. Says the Gemara, loy, that is not the true interpretation of the story with Rebbe. Rebbe, who granted an isha 4 nights, you know what it was speaking about? It was speaking about the following case. La'olam diyov la'achas b'mei katnus, v'gimel b'mei naras. Was speaking about a ktana who got married when she was a ktana, and she received 1 night then, and the remaining 3 she received after she became a nara. The question was, how can you fit 3 leilos, which each one has 3 months in between between one and the other 3 months, which is a total of 9 months, that won't fit into the 6 months of naras. Says the Gemara, Misaris, do you think kotlasa yarchi oina? Who told you that there was 1 night per 3 months? Kotre yarchi chada oina. Every 2 months there was 1 oina, there was 1 laila of tashmish. So certainly we could fit 3 of those in 6 months. We have 3 lailas with 2 months apart. So therefore, in 6 months, it surely can combine 3 of those nights. So in conclusion, she was never begeres. It was a mistake. Rabbi's case was not discussing a begeres at all. He wasn't relating to the halacha of a begeres. So therefore it has no relation. It is not connected to Rav's halacha taught about a begeres. So in conclusion, Rav taught us a halacha regarding begeres, that if she was loirasav, she had no prior NIDAH experience, she's granted 1 a night. The Gemara is Takasha. We find the story where Rebbe granted an isha 4 nights within 12 months. What was he speaking about? It's all bimei katnus. That can't be. The shear of aktana is ashetechia maka. not 4 nights. Elamai must be that she was a Nara already. But the whole duration of the stage of Naras is a mere 6 months. So 12 months could never fit into 6 months. So it must be a third suggestion that there were 2 B'mei Katnas. 2 of those nights happened when she was a Ktana. The remaining 2 happened when she was a Nara. Says the Gemara, that can't either be Pshat, because the 2 nights that she had B'mei Katnus only count as 1, and therefore she should still have 3 left over. Gemara suggested further, perhaps was speaking about that one of the nights took place when she was a Ktana, 2 of them when she was a Nara, and the remaining 1 when she was a Begeres. And we see that she's still allowed the full allowance of a Begeres, which according to Rav is 1 night, although she already had previous experiences. She already had part of her allowance during her Yimei Katnus and during her Yimei Naras. So why does it not cause a deduction in her Begeres allowance? So it must be that a Begeres really ordinarily would deserve more, perhaps 2 days, 2 nights. And therefore, when we account for her previous allowances, we will deduct it, knock it down to 1. So we see from here that a Begeres ordinarily would have more than 1 night allowance, and this is a kasha on Rav. The conclusion of the Gemara was, we're not speaking about a Begeres at all. Rebbe's halacha was not discussing a Begeres, but rather a Ktana who married, and then she turned to Nara, and she's allowed a total of 4 nights. 1 during Yimei Katnus, the remaining 3 during her Yimei Naras. Continues the Gemara. Min Yamin skasna v'shakal v'azal aser Shmuel. Min Yamin, from the town of Sakasna, was traveling to the place of Shmuel. Savr l'me'eved uvda, he had intended to follow through practically Kavasei de Rav, according to the ruling, according to the Shita of Rav, who taught us that a Begeres has a 1 night allowance. Afilu Rasa. Minyamin interpreted Rav's halacha even regarding a Begeres who had prior NIDAH experience. And that is not so. We know that Rav restricted, and Rav specifically differentiated between a Begeres who was Loi Rasa, she gets 1 night. However, Begeres who was already Rasa, she only gets Bilas Mitzvah. Minyamin Sagasna didn't interpret Rav's ruling this way. Omar le Palag Rav ben Rasa ben Rasa, there's no distinction between the 2. Either way, she's allowed 1 night. Kadim Shachiv Burcha. Says the Gemara, he died before he realized his intention. Before he got there, he died. And he wasn't able to carry out his intention. Kari Shmuel le Rav. So Shmuel applied to Rav that Hashem protected you. Lo yu'una le'tzadik kol oven. No evil shall befall a tzaddik. Hashem protected Rav, that nobody should transgress a halacha as a result of an erroneous interpretation of Rav's ruling. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rav Chinna b'ashlamya mishvei de Rav. Kiven shenot kushinav shel adam. When a person's teeth start falling out, he's already older. Nismat u'mezaynesav. He has a more difficult time earning a livelihood. Shenemar gam anoichem satilucha nikayin shinayim b'chol reichem. I've given you teeth falling out, and a lack of sustenance. It is more difficult to earn a parnasa. Continues the Gemara. Rasa v'oide b'veisavia. Tana Rabbanan. We're speaking about a Nara who had previously seen Dam Nidos. In that case, her allowance is as follows. Tana Rabbanan. We learned in a Braisa. Rasa v'oide b'veisavia. She already seen Dam Nidos prior to getting married. Beisil oim kol halayla shala. She has an allowance of that night. She has a complete period. The night consists of an oina shlema. What does that mean? What is the definition of an oina shlema? Says the Gemara, Pirish Rav Mishim Gamliel, Laila v'chatziyayim. It consists of a night plus another half day. That is the definition of the word oina. Says the Gemara, Mi ba'inin kulihai. Is that so? Is an oina that long? Does it take that long for the dam pesulim to get depleted? I find a brisa that states the shear of an oina is a mere 12 hours. It's not a night plus a half a day. V'ramini, we've learned in a brisa. Harei shehayu gitav obeis badav. If somebody's winery or his olive press was tmeyos, or bikesh lasoisam b'tahara, they had absorbed tummy liquids, and now he would like to use them to make things tahor. So how does he extract, what does he do to cleanse it of the tumah? So what does he do? Hadapin, the pressing boards, valovin, the brooms, vahadashan, and the bases, madichon, he simply rinses them, and that is sufficient to clean them. Ha'akalim shel netzarim, the nettings made of wicker, shel batzbos made of flax, so they are a bit more absorbent and they require a better cleansing process. Menagvan, you need to rinse them, wash them with a cleaning agent. The Gemara says navedazar, it's referring to some type of ash that they used to use to as a cleaning agent to clean them out. Shel shifa v'shel gemi, these are plants that are really absorbent. They require an even more thorough process. Miyashnon, he needs to age them so that it's completely dry, and then he can use them for taharis. V'kama miyashnon, what is the shear? How long does he have to age them? Yud beis chodesh, for 12 months. That is the shita of the Tanakam. After 12 months, we assume that it's all completely dried up, inside out, and he may use them to produce taharis. He needs to leave them from one season, from one pressing season, wine pressing season to the other wine pressing season, and from one olive season to the next, which is usually 12 months, a year. Hainu Tanakama. Isn't this exactly like the Tanakama? What is the difference between the Tanakama, who states 12 months as the shear, and the Rishim Gamliel, who describes it as waiting from one season to the next, which is usually 12 months? Says the Gemara, Ikubanayu, what is the difference between them? Charfi, if they make the next season early, va'afli, or they delay it. Meaning, on occasion, it is not exactly a full year, 12 months between one season and the next, depending on the crop, etc. So in the case where charfi, they expedite the next season, they start early. In that case, according to the Tanakama, that's not sufficient because it's not a full 12 months. According to Rishim Gamliel, it is sufficient since it is already the next season. Likewise, if they delay matters past 12 months, according to the Tanakama, it's not necessary to wait past 12 months. According to Rishim Gamliel, you need to wait until the next season. Continues the Braisa. Rabbi Yossi Omer, haroitzi letar miyad. If he needs to use them right away, he can't wait to go through this whole procedure. Magilan beroischin. So he does hagali, purges them with boiling water. Ichol to mezeisim. He pours on it mezeisim, a heated juice of olives, and that accomplishes that whatever is absorbed gets spit out, and he can use it for taharis. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer Rabbi Yossi manichan tachas atzinar. He can place it under a pipe with gushing water, shemeim of makalchen, or in a stream with running water. That too will accomplish what he needs to do. V'kama, how long does he leave it there? Oina, for a full period. Continues the price. Just as we have stated these halachas regarding yain nesach, if his equipment had absorbed goysha wine, which is aser, and he wants to cleanse it, so just as we have stated all these various halachas, these procedures of being matar, the equipment from yain nesach, kach amar taharis, similarly regarding taharis, regarding equipment that was used for tumah, and now he would like to use it for taharis, he undergoes the same process. As the Gemara, klape laya. And which way are you making a direction? You seem to be deriving taharis from yain nesach, as if yain nesach is a given. But that's not the case. But taharis kaminan. This halacha, this discussion, was regarding taharis. We don't even know the halacha regarding yain nesach. So how could you say taharis will derive the halacha from yain nesach? Says the Gemara, Ela kaderach she'amar b'taharis. You must say the opposite. Just as we have stated the halachas regarding taharis, kach amar b'yain nesach. Similarly, we will apply the same process to yain nesach. Okay. V'kama oina. Now the Gemara wants to know. We said put it under the pipe, etc. for an oina. What is an oina? What is the definition? What is this period of time called an oina? Either a day or a night. Some say Rav Chana bar she'oina. He said in the name of Amar Rav Chana or Rav Yochanan. What is an oina? It's not a night or a day, but rather chatzi yoim v'chatzi laila. You need a half a day plus a half a night. So this seems to be a machlekes here. There's actually no machlekes whatsoever. There's no dispute between them. They're speaking about different circumstances. It depends what time of the year it is, at what point in the seasons. If it's Tkufas Nisan v'Tishrei, it's the season of Nisan v'Tishrei during the spring and fall, where the days and nights are equal. A day is 12 hours, so is a night. In that case, applies the description of Rabbi Yochanan of Oyayim Oylayla, because an Oyna actually means 12 hours, and a day or a night, they both consist of 12 hours at that point in the year. Ha b'tkufas Nisan v'Tishrei. Rabbi Yochanan, who stated that an Oyna is either a day or a night, he's referring to when the days and the nights are equal. There are 12 hours. Ha b'tkufas Tamas v'Tevis. However, the second Shita, who defined an Oyna as being a half a day and a half a night, he was speaking about the Tkufas Tammuz, the summer, V'Tevis, and the winter, where the days and the nights are unequal. And therefore, in order to get an equal 12 hours, a full 12 hours, you need to slice them up. You need to take a half of the day, half of the night, for a total of 12 hours. So there really is no machlekes. They're both in agreement. An Oyna is 12 hours. So the Gemara has a kasha. How could you have stated earlier that an Oyna, regarding a NIDAH, we said that a Begeres receives Kol HaLayla, she receives one night allowance. What is that? An Oyna Shalema. Said the Rishim Gamliel, an Oyna is a night plus a half a day. Here we see the Bryce explains, according to the interpretation of the Amoraim, that an Oyna is merely 12 hours. So how do you get to a night plus a half a day? Says the Gemara, Hachanami, Ema, Gabinida, Chatzi Yoim B'Chatzi Laila. So too by a NIDAH, we should say that an Oyna is really a night, a half a night and a half a day. He didn't mean a night plus a half a day. What he meant was that it is part of the night and part of the day, meaning in the summer or the winter you need to take a half a night and half a day for a total of 12 hours. So it is consistent with those shitas. Says the Gemara, V'ha Laila V'Chatzi Yom K'amar. Rav Shimon Gamliel clearly said that an Oyna is a full night plus a half a day. So you can't say he meant a half a night and half a day. Says the Gemara, Ella, what he meant to say was as follows. I Laila de Nisan v'Tishrei. If it's during Nisan and Tishrei that a night is 12 hours, so then a night would be the precise description of an Oyna. If it's during the summer or the winter, then you need a half a day and half a night. So that's what he meant when he said a Laila v'Chatziyim. What he meant was like this. Depends when. Sometimes it's a Laila, if the night is a 12-hour night, and sometimes you have to run into splitting up nights and days. If it's the summer and the winter, you need to do a half a night and half a day for a total of 12 hours. So that's one teretz, one answer that the Gemara had on the Rishim Gamliel, the Kasha Rishim Gamliel. Another teretz, Yiboye Seima. Alternatively, you can say that really, all over, universally, an Oyna means 12 hours. But Ksuva is different. In our case of Nisum, of marriage, we grant her more than 12 hours. We grant her a night and a half a day for a total of 18 hours. Why is that so? Shani Ksuva. A Ksuva is different. The Magbi Batfei Adachasmi. There are a lot of delays until they actually conclude all the technicalities and the signature of the document, of the Ksuva document, and therefore, very often, the actual Nisurim only takes place hours later. So although we're granting her a night and a half a day, very often it ends up only being a total of 12 hours from when the Nisurim actually take place. So in conclusion, what is an Oyna? An Oyna is 12 hours. However, regarding the Oyna which we grant a Begeres for her Besulim, according to one teretz of the Gemara, she will be granted 12 hours, because in reality it ends up usually being less than the 18 hours. Continues the Gemara. Rav Shmuel Damar Tavayu. Rav and Shmuel hold that, notwithstanding all the different halachas and the categories and shitas that we had in our Mishnah, the halacha l'maisa, the practical halacha is halacha boil bilas mitzvah parish. One is boil, the first bila, and he abstains. There is no more allowance past the first bila. We are concerned that perhaps what she is seeing is dam nidus. Maser of Chizda, asked Rav Chizda, we had a brisa which explicitly stated Maser v'nosan la Rebbe dalad leilis mitoichi beis chodesh. We have a story mentioned in the brisa where Rebbe granted her 4 nights, which is way more than just the bilas mitzvah. How can you say that she is limited merely to bilas mitzvah? Amalei Rava haduri apirchi lamali. Why do you have to look afar to find the challenge on Rav and Shmuel? Oisiv mas nissen. Come right to our Mishnah, right here in the parak, which clearly states that an Isha has way more than just bilas mitzvah. Who savar? Why did Rav Chizda choose to challenge Rav Shmuel from the story mentioned in the Brayse? Who savar masarav? Since we find an actual story where Rebbe relied on this halacha and applied it practically, that has more significance, that's more authoritative, and is a bigger challenge than just bringing a Mishnah. You know, a Mishnah could be just Havamim, could be speaking and learning. It doesn't necessarily require us to think that it's halacha l'maisa, that we should practice it in a practical sense. But a story, a maisa, where we see that Rebbe actually instructed somebody to behave this way, to get 4 leilos, that truly is a challenge to the Shittas Rav Shmuel, who restricted or limited only to bilas mitzvah. Mikomakayim. Bottom line is, nevertheless, Rav Shmuel kasha. We have a kasha on Rav Shmuel. How can they say that one is allowed only bilas mitzvah when we know from Rebbe, as well as our Mishnah, that way more than that is allowed? Says the Gemara, Inu the Avad Kaberseinu. Rav Shmuel followed the opinion of our Rabbi Seinu, of our masters, the Sanya. Rabbi Seinu Chazar V'Ninu is subsequently voted, and they concluded that what is the halacha l'maisa? How do we conduct ourselves? Boil bilas mitzvah perish. He is boil bilas mitzvah and he abstains. There is no more heter past the bilas mitzvah. Amar Ula, ki hava bo Rabbi Yechon Shlokish v'Tinaikis. When Rabbi Yechon Shlokish delved into the parak Tinaikis, into our parak, they didn't derive from it anything practical. Elo kedemasik tala, just like a fox brings up on his feet, mibei karba, the dust on his feet. He didn't come up with anything significant. So too, they didn't derive any halachic halachic ruling, from clarity from this parak. And they concluded as follows: that what is the halacha l'maisa? What is the practical halacha? Boil bilas mitzvah upirish. One does bilas mitzvah and abstains. There is no allowance past the bilas mitzvah. If so, that all is allowed is just one time, Bal Nefesh, one who's devout, one who is concerned with being stringent in halachas, La Yigmar Biyasai, he should not complete his biyah, since the heter, since the permission is only for the initial biyah, so it's only the beginning of the biyah. Once the biyah produced caused dam to come from the dam basulim, at this point there should be no heter to continue to finish the tashmish. Amalei, Imkain, if so, if you restrict it so much, his heart will pound him. He'll be so concerned or perish that he will not want to get himself involved at all, and he will completely abstain and not even do the beginning of the tashmish. So in conclusion, although we have a Mishnah which states many different halachas regarding the allowance given to an Isha, where we attribute the dam she's experiencing to dam basulim, and we have a story that Rebbe granted 4 nights. However, in practical halacha, we conduct ourselves according to Rabbi Seinu, according to Rabbi Shmuel, that all she has is the first bila, and that's it. The Rosh explains why is this so, since these halachas are complicated, and not everybody is well versed in these halachas. In addition, it's an area which involves Yetzer Hara, therefore the Chacham were concerned to avoid confusion. They made a blanket halacha that any woman, regardless of her state, regardless of her age, she receives the highest, the most stringent limitation given to a Begeres Shirasa, which is merely Bilas Mitzvah and no more. Continues the Gemara. Tana Rabbanan, we've learned in the Brayse, V'kulan sho sheifa is dam. All these women that have allowances, 4 nights, etc., if they were flowing uninterruptedly, sheifa is dam, ubois mitoich dalad leilis, la'acha dalad leilis, they began bleeding, began seeing dam within the allowed time, but then continued uninterrupted past the allowed time. In the case of a Nara who receives 4 nights, a 4-night allowance, she began dam within the 4 nights, which is presumed to be dam psulim and is tar, and she continued over past her 4-night allowance. Can we assume that this is a continuation of the dam psulim, and although it's past her allowed time, it is still considered to be dam psulim? Says the Gemara again. V'kulan shoyu sheifes dam. They were flowing dam uninterruptedly. Ubois mitoich dal leilos la'achad dal leilos, from within the 4 nights, continuing to pass the 4 nights. Mitoich halayla la'achad layla. Or in the case of an isha who was allowed 1 night, she began her dam within the night and continued on afterwards. The halach is we can't just presume that this is a continuation of the dam besulim. Tzricha is livdaikes asma. They need to examine and see. Perhaps the color of the dam has changed. If it got darker now, then we assume that this, after what's happening after the allowed time, it has changed over to dam nidais and she is tar. So she needs to examine herself. If it is the same color, then fine. Then it is assumed to be a continuation. If it changed colors, it got darker, then it is dam nidais and she is tamei. We have several halachas, machlekes between Shammai and Hillel as to what is the time limit, what is the allowance for an isha. Rameh is machmer, like the shita of Shammai, but not completely. On the one hand, he's not maker like Beis Hillel. For instance, the nara shalei rasa, according to Beis Hillel, she receives 4 nights. According to Beis Shammai, she only receives one night. Rameh holds something in between. He is not maker, he's not leaning to completely like Beis Hillel to give her 4 nights, regardless of the condition of the dam. He's not machmer like Beis Shammai to only give her 1 night. It depends on the condition of the dam. We have to check the dam. The time slot between the allowance of Beis Shammai until the deadline of Beis Hillel, in the previously mentioned case, the one that gets 4 nights according to Beis Hillel and 1 night according to Beis Shammai. So what happens between 1 night and 4? Says Reb Meir, follow the color of the dam. Meaning, check and see, what does it look like? Does it look like dam besulim? Then fine, she's tar like Beis Hillel. If this looks like dam nidah, then she's tamei like Beis Shammai. There's a difference. Reb Meir used to say there's a difference between the different types of dam. The different types of dam look different. Ketzad? How is that? Dam nidah adam, the dam which is dam nidah is very red. Dam sulim ene adam, the dam which is dam sulim is a lighter shade of red. Dam nida ziyam, the dam nida is cloudy. Dam sulim ene ziyam is not cloudy. Dam nida b'amana makar, it's coming from the source, from the womb. Dam sulim b'amana tzdadim is coming from the sides of the vagina canal. So therefore, we need to examine what is the nature of this dam and determine the halacha accordingly. That is the shittas Rameh. So we have Beis Shammai on the one hand, we have Beis Hillel on the other hand, and we have Reb Meir somewhere in the middle. Depends what type of dam. This is the opinion of Reb Meir, that we need to examine the mara of the dam. The Chachamim hold kol mara damim achasem, regardless of what the dam looks like, all the colors are equal. Meaning, we're not concerned with checking colors, regardless of what it looks like. If it's within 4 nights, she is tar. It is assumed to be dam psulim, and she is tar. So in conclusion, this brisa taught us 2 halachas. If an isha has an allowance, if it's 1 night, if it's 4 nights, depending on her age, what if she sees dam, she begins seeing the dam within the allowed time and continues uninterrupted to post allowance? What happens? Says the brisa, we need to examine whether there was a change in color. If it got darker, then we assume this is dam nidus. If it remained the same, then we just assume that it is a continuation of the dam sulim and she is tar. Rameh teaches us that although Beis Shammai is machmer, they're very stringent, and Beis Hillel is mekel, I have the middle path. I'm doing a compromise that I'm not being machmer complete like Beis Shammai to give her only 1 night. I'm not going to be mekel like Beis Hillel to give her 4 nights regardless of what's going on. I have to check. We have to examine to see what is the nature of this dam. Does it appear to be dam nidas? Then she's tamei. Does it appear to be dam psulim? Then she's tar. And this is during that time slot between Beis Shammai's allowance and Beis Hillel's allowance, meaning between day 1 and day 4.